All right, man, peace. So, brothers, a while ago, I initiated a series called Have Goals. And the first entry in that series was featuring none other than Mr. Marshawn Lattimore, the standout cornerback of the New Orleans Saints. And the overall crux of this series is going to be based on my perspective that the so-called black man, especially you younger brothers out there, must be aspirational. You have to calibrate your mind to setting standards and goals for yourself so that you will not be diverted by lesser minds out there who seek to spend more time investing in your downfall than they do investing in their own upliftment. That's what a true hater is. Particularly if you're gifted and everyone can see that gift starting to manifest itself. When you're extremely gifted, the more blessed you are, the more potent the emanations of your gift are going to be, and it's going to cause and initiate a great deal of jealousy from the people around you, especially people who are very insecure about their own lack of ambition, self-awareness, and self-esteem. Be very careful if you allow yourself to cavort around people who have low self-esteem. They tend to have identity issues, and they want to take it out on people who are confident and who they can see have the work ethic to make their own dreams come true. They're going to try to force themselves into your life narrative. It happens all the time. I know that firsthand. The main thing that losers focus on is how to force themselves into the life of someone who they think is winning or is starting to win. Unfortunately, low-level males think like low-level females do. Because even though I say that the woman for the most part is galvanized by boredom and jealousy, you do have a very rare, very valuable, precious component of the woman who actually knows how to focus on things that are going to benefit her. It's a very minute portion, a very small percentile of women in general, but that does exist. And unfortunately, as I tell you brothers all the time, the liberal black male is just a woman trapped in a man's body. And so many of these cats today are focused on how they can detract from a man who they think is winning or is on his way to winning and is focused, aspirational, and goal-oriented. So that's the reason why you have to be even more hyper-focused on your goals, because if you allow it, you'll put all your attention on these goofy niggas who will try to stop you, or goofy people of any other race who will try to stop you, and you'll end up dead or in prison if you're not careful. Because that's what they want for you. You have people out here who are willing to give up their life just to stop you from living your best life. So you better make sure that every night you write down what you want to be on a piece of paper and how you're going to go about getting there. Because believe me, there are people out here who see that you're gifted and they lay their head down on their mother's pillowcase every night trying to discern and decipher how they're going to destroy you in some way, shape, or form. Or show what I call nigger pride. Nigger pride is when somebody knows that they're wrong, but they still want to keep going. That's why so many so-called young black males get killed every day, because of their nigger pride. It's like, nigga, you know that you're wrong. Why are you still trying to go back and forth about something that you know is not yours, that you know you have no right to? I know why. Because you think and act like a bitch. You're worried about things that really have no consequence in your life. Are you focused on what you need to be doing as opposed to what that other man is doing? We have to focus and concentrate on our own fate. That's going to stop us from worrying about other people. And you'll see automatically the crime rate will plummet once the so-called black man starts worrying about what he needs to do as opposed to what other people are doing and how successful other people are. Because when you're worried about other people's success, you want to start to downplay it. Oh, that nigga, he's just, he's not giving back. That's one of the main excuses that low-level niggas use to cover up for their envy and their jealousy. And if you're not someone who is ambitious, who's aspirational, you'll get sidetracked by stupid shit like that. And you will allow people to force themselves into your life narrative. You have to use any stumbling block that someone tries to set in front of you as a potential stepping stone to help you understand, okay, I see why the Most High sent that piece of shit into my life narrative. It's to tell me that I have to tighten up here or there. And that's it. Because people will try you and they don't even understand that the reason why you're so infatuated with this other person and what they're doing is because a demon is within your body and operating you via remote control. And what's going to happen is eventually you're going to do what you're trying to do to the wrong person, and you're going to get killed. That's why we have to really walk circumspectly, as the scriptures say, and make sure that we're taking inventory of everything that we're doing and why. So anyway, I just want to do this follow-up on this story pertaining to Mr. Marshawn Lattimore, because as we're going to see, they have the footage of when he was pulled over by the police. And it's just something else that I want to go over as well as we go over this footage. The concept of de-escalation is not just up to the police to de-escalate. It's also up to us as individuals who have a life that we want to live. If you have a life that you want to live, that means that you're invested in your future. That means that you don't want to see things spiral out of control, because you actually want to wake up tomorrow and keep living your life. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Just got a video of the arrest of Marshawn Lattimore, the New Orleans Saints superstar defensive player, three-time Pro Bowler. He's 24 years old. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. This guy is a major prospect. But we know he's likely facing up to 18 months in prison right now for a March arrest in which cops say he was carrying a stolen gun on him. And now we have the body cam footage from the arrest, and it is concerning. During the arrest, cops go up to his car. They pulled him over because they say there were routine traffic infractions there, but they pulled him over and they rolled down the window, and they said the car reeked of marijuana. So they decided to take the investigation a little bit further, and during the course of the investigation, they realized that Marshawn Lattimore had a loaded gun tucked into his waistband with the barrel pointing toward his groin. And what happened afterward
makes me wonder if the brother's some type of gang member. I mentioned this in the previous installment in this series. Why would you, as Marshawn Lattimore, a millionaire playing for the New Orleans Saints, be driving around your community or any other community with a quote-unquote stolen gun? And they're just assuming that the gun is stolen because most likely it had any form of identification number that was on it scratched off of it in some way, shape, or form. So one has to wonder, what was he doing driving around with a weapon like that? Was he out there trying to put in work on someone? Is he paranoid? Does he have a beef out in these streets? Does he have a rival out there that he's concerned with, that if he has to shoot them, he does not want it to be traced back to him? But even that doesn't make any sense, because if it's in the process of defending himself, why would he not want to have a registered firearm in his name? That's why I'm of the belief, just my perspective, that he's going around with that gun because he plans to utilize or execute an offensive maneuver, not a defensive maneuver. So if I were the police or any form of law enforcement that is involved in investigating this case, I would wonder exactly who Marshawn Lattimore is off of the football field that would necessitate that he be traveling around with a weapon of that type, of that caliber.
Quite shocking, because we all remember Plaxico Burress, who accidentally shot himself in the leg.
Yeah, he was another jackass. He ruined his whole career. Plaxico Burress was on top of the world. If you remember, he caught the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl in 2007. Or really, I think it was January of 2008. And then the next season, the Giants started off something like 10-1. He was one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. He had a great rapport with Eli Manning. The Giants looked like they had an opportunity to repeat as champions. And then he's up in the club shooting himself in the damn thigh because he's paranoid about dudes who had threatened to rob him. Because at that time, there was a clique of niggas that was running around robbing any so-called black celebrity. A lot of black athletes and rappers in the New York area were getting robbed by this crew, who, if I remember correctly, were associated with the rapper Fabulous. So I think that this guy Plaxico Burress, he was a bit paranoid that he was that he was going to be next. So he decides to carry a gun around with him with no holster and ends up shooting himself in the damn thigh. And it pretty much ended his career as an effective wide receiver in the National Football League.
He ruined his professional football career and his reputation. I mean, that was a really bad moment for him. And he almost died. And now you see Marshawn Lattimore coming very close to.
And this was a guy, Plaxico Burress, who was in the midst of a contractual marriage with a woman. They lived out in New Jersey in a very nice home. But he decided that he still wanted to be out there in them streets, going to the clubs and this and that, which I just don't understand at all. Especially if you're someone who is of that high a level and you exist in that zone or in that realm where basically if you desire to have other women, you could have them come to you. Why would you want to go out to a club and fraternize with people who you know don't mean you any good? as most people don't. Most people are not going to mean you any good. That's another subtopic in a series like this, especially for you brothers out there who are talented or gifted. There will be many people who approach you with offers. Oh, I can help you do this. I can help you do that. And in all reality, they're trying to figure out what the source is of this gift that you have. And can they nitpick anything? Can I find anything on him that I can potentially use? Can I find anything on her that I can potentially use against her? I see that this person is very gifted. I'm not. I call it like, we just covered the film 300 on my other channel. And and you have the character of Ephialtes, the ogre, the troll who wanted to be a member of Leonidas' 300. And when he realized that he wasn't fit or up to snuff to be a member of the 300, he became a massive hater. Remember, he approached Leonidas and tried to act like he could, add so much to Leonidas' regiment or infantry of soldiers. And when he was rejected, he decided to defect to the side of Xerxes. That's how many of these people will be when your light starts to shine. So don't marvel at that. Just be prepared and be focused enough on the things that you want to get accomplished to be able to screen those people out when you see them for who and what they really are. And in the long run, it won't be that difficult to discern.
Situation, and the cops, to their credit, are trying to educate him about the dangers of carrying a loaded gun in your waistband. Take a look.
First off, where's your gun at without touching it? Right. Your pants? Right. Is it loaded? Is it going to go off?
Yeah, it's loaded.
Is it a revolver or something?
No, it's a Smith & Wesson.
You're going to shoot
No.
The cop told him you're going to shoot your dick off. So many of these guys, they learn about utilizing firearms from watching movies. Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood. They shoot their guns like how they watch in the movies. They pack their gun in their waistband like how they see in the movies. And they end up making fools of their damn self. That's why so many innocent bystanders get hit when these guys actually get into gunfights. There was a major shootout here in New York City in Times Square just this past weekend, where a little girl got hit, a woman got hit, because some idiot was getting into an altercation with another person in Times Square and decided that he wanted to pop off. And he hit everyone except for his intended target, as usual.
Get yourself a holster, bro.
A white man said, get yourself a holster, bro. Like, come on. Let's be professional about this.
It's the only one you got? Hey, is that the only one you got?
That's
okay.
mine. Yeah.
All right. What's your name, man? Marshawn Lattimore for the Saints? You play for the Saints. He plays for the Saints. The amount of stuff you got going for you. How old are you?
24.
24.
Yeah.
Smith & Wesson. It's not like you're, pump out there, bro.
No.
Even the Caucasian police officers trying to help him understand what he has on the line. So many cats grow up watching these characters in their neighborhoods, and they decide that they want to take over the role of the previous character from the previous generation. It's like a play, a long-running play on Broadway, where one actor plays a role, and then when he or she retires from that role, a younger actor takes their place. That's how it is in the so-called black community at the lower levels, the lower rungs of it. Where you have these impressionable young boys, they see these dumbass niggas and they say, you know what, I want to be like him. Even if I have great things going for me, I still want to have a little bit of that energy from this degenerate person mixed in with what I'm doing that's making me a success. And the reason for that a lot of times is to attract the woman. A lot of these so-called black men are playing roles because they think that's what's going to attract the woman. And there is something to that. Because if you watch many of these TV shows, especially when it comes to drug dealing, I'm not going to say necessarily that there's a romanticization that's going on with these archetypal drug dealer characters. But you do see that many female fans or viewers of these shows are drawn to the drug kingpin archetype. Because there's an alpha male aspect to it. There's also an initiator of chaos aspect to it that the woman is drawn to. And unfortunately, many of these cats are not confident enough to be themselves and be who they are. So he's trying to draw in a certain type of person towards him by playing this character that he's playing. And that's not even to mention what I've already stated about him possibly being gang affiliated, which I believe is the case. Once again, it's just my perspective on it. But brothers cannot allow themselves to subscribe, to these archetypal roles geared towards so-called black males, where they have to portray this gangster, so-called thug tough guy image to attract the woman. The last thing that you should be concerned about is what the woman is attracted to. The main thing that is going to draw the woman is success. So be successful in life. The women will come.
I'm not. Right. I'm just back home.
I get it. I get it. You're back home. I understand that.
Yeah. So look, Marshawn Lattimore, when they ran the gun, cops said that they saw the gun was registered as stolen. So he was booked on suspicion of possessing a stolen handgun, which could be prosecuted as a 4th-degree felony, which carries up to 18 months in prison if he.
So yeah, pardon me. He didn't scratch off the registry number from the gun. It was classified as stolen when the police investigated its origin. So that's even worse for him.
Convicted. So now, what seemed like maybe not that big of a deal at first, once they ran the gun and they said, whoa, this thing came up stolen. Now you're talking about a situation where you're facing up to 18 months in prison. And on top of that, the question has to be asked.
Well, he's not going to do 18 months in prison. I'm sure that the Saints are going to stage some type of intervention for him and pay the city where he's from however much it will take to offset the charge. And on top of that, if he does not have any prior charges and things of that nature, he'll pretty much get off with some type of probation, something like that, I'm sure.
Why are you carrying a loaded weapon in your waistband?
Yeah, I think the answer to that question is we've already seen it. Athletes, entertainers, anybody with money is a target. So
Right, but once again, even if he feels like he's a target, why would he be carrying around a stolen gun? That makes no sense whatsoever. He's Marshawn Lattimore. He can go buy a gun. The only thing that makes sense to me is that he planned on putting in work on someone and he did not want to be traced for the work that he was going to put in.
And the need to want to feel protected. But look, I've said this and I'll say it all the time. You need at least a security guard that's your friend, that you can get trained, that can actually do these things so you don't feel like a burden when they're around. But you have to have somebody else that's going to do that, because let's say hypothetically he did have to use his gun. That's not a good situation either.
Yeah.
Obviously you don't want him to be without protection. Secondly, I want to actually talk the cop's demeanor. I thought they knew who he was the whole time. That's a great cop interaction. If you're pulled over, they say, hey, where's your gun, without touching it? Oh, you do know you can shoot yourself, like, be careful. And then they realized it was him. I love that.
Well, Renee Montgomery, we don't know exactly the percentage of police officers who conduct themselves in that way, because the mainstream liberal media that puppets people like you always wants to make sure that they promote these altercations between low-level niggas and low-level police. Of course, we know that there is a very sizable contingent of police all across America who have their own views about race and stereotypes and things of that nature. But we don't know what percentage of police officers operate themselves with that level of proficiency and professionalism. So kudos to them, but also kudos to Marshawn Lattimore for maintaining a monotone, calm demeanor while interacting with the cops. So they were less likely to be overly suspicious. That's why I state once again, de-escalation is a two-way street. It's not just up to the police to de-escalate. It's also up to the person who's being stopped by the police.
And by the police as well.
There was a good cop, bad cop moment. The guy who was initially having that conversation with him was, in my opinion, and I think yours as well, was friendly. It wasn't like a threatening or like an out to get you kind of a demeanor. But then there was another cop who came in and was like, wait a second, this guy has a loaded gun. And all of a sudden it became a very, very serious situation.
Well, of course it's going to become a serious situation because he had a loaded gun that was that was registered as stolen. So it better become a serious situation after that. It's not going to be small talk once it's discerned that you have a stolen weapon.
Ultimately, he was booked without further incident, and now the case is in the court system, and he's going to have to try to defend himself and cut a deal so he doesn't go to prison. I don't think he will. I don't believe he has a record, and I think that if he can prove that he bought this gun not knowing it was stolen, I think that there is some wiggle room there. So if I had to get
Right, but he would have to prove where he bought it from. And if he brought it from a regular gun store, why would it show it's stolen?
I wouldn't predict that he's going to go to prison. I bet he'll cut a deal here. Look, people who know him say he's a really nice guy. They say he's a really hard worker. They say that he's got a great reputation as a professional. I think he got caught up in a moment here and he made a mistake.
Well, I'm not going to classify it as a mistake. Mistakes are things that occur within your life where you might not quite be sure exactly what decision to make at the moment. So you go according to what feels right. I would not classify carrying around a stolen gun as a mistake. That was something that was purposefully done for a reason. The only question is, what was the reason why he was carrying around a weapon that was registered as stolen? Clearly, he does not want to be traced should anything pop off between whoever it is his potential target is supposed to be.
And I think that the cop is right for letting him know, dude, when you're carrying a loaded weapon, especially like loosely like that, it's in your waistband. You heard the cop on the video say, dude, you got to invest in a holster. Lattimore claims he had a license to carry a weapon, which if that's true, great, good for him. But please just do it responsibly, man. We don't want to see you get hurt.
I hope that he does have a license to carry that weapon, and I hope that he gets a license to carry that gun. I also hope that he gets a holster. It just sounds, a little bit off that he has a gun in his waistband that's seen as being stolen whenever they look it up. As already stated, it's very obvious to me that, there are some other layers to this Marshawn Lattimore story that have yet to be peeled. One thing I do know is that cats like him who have alters that they're hiding, just under the surface, that alter ego always comes out again. We saw it with Aaron Hernandez. We saw it with Ray Caruth. Hopefully I'm wrong about Mr. Marshawn Lattimore, but this is not a good sign. And once again, just to get back to the crux of this video and also this series, brothers have to have goals. They have to know where they want to go with their life. They have to know what they want to be and how they're going to get there. Because that's how you develop that tunnel vision to be able to push the people out of your life who need to be pushed out, or to allow the people who need to be pushed out to push themselves out, because that will happen as well. A lot of times people will see, okay, this person is on a pathway towards that, and I'm not willing to travel that path with them. I don't love them enough, or I don't love them at all. You have a lot of people in your life who might call themselves your woman, your significant other, your homeboy, and they don't really give a fuck about you. They just along for the ride at the moment. And as soon as they see that you're taking a direction that they're not going to be willing to follow, it's not that they're not able to follow it, they're not willing to follow it. They're going to throw up the deuces. And you know what? It's going to be the best for you.
An accident. We don't want to see you do anything that could jeopardize your career, or more importantly, your life.
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. Peace.